years ago still holds up today, remaining the pinnacle of disaster cinema. It perfectly shows how insignificant humans are before nature. The story begins at an Antarctic research station where scientists drill into the ice. Suddenly the drill rig collapses into the ice. Massive crack opens behind them, and keeps widening rapidly. Teammates inside the base feel tremors. Open the door to check, only to see the fracture collapsing, spreading into a terrifying chasm. The drilling teammate nearly lost his life instantly, but Jack and another teammate rush over just in time, pulling him back from the abyss. Yet the vital ice core remains on the opposite side. Seeing this, Jack risks everything and leaps across, grabbing the ice core just as the fissure rapidly expands. When he jumps back, the ice beneath him gives way, sending him plummeting into the void. His ice axe becomes his lifeline now. With help from two teammates above, they haul him back from death's edge. The colossal Antarctic crevasse leaves everyone deeply shaken. Back at base, Jack immediately publishes research on global warming, causing climate catastrophe. Ocean currents normally transport solar heat northward, but melting polar ice disrupts these currents, throwing them off balance. Should currents collapse, the northern hemisphere would freeze solid, plunging into a new ice age. Earth will reset its ecological cycle, natural self-preservation mechanism. Though this catastrophe may take time, if humanity doesn't act immediately, future generations will pay a terrible price. The vice president heard this and said, "What does the future have to do with us?" And then, Jack's proposal was immediately shut down, since it required enormous funding. But no one anticipated nature's defense mechanism would strike faster than expected. At a Scottish weather monitoring center, staff member noticed ocean temperatures had plunged 13 degrees. This was highly abnormal, making them suspect instrument failure. Meanwhile, Tokyo faced sudden torrential rains. Authorities issued urgent warnings, deploying police to evacuate citizens, urging immediate shelter. Evacuations had just begun, when fist-sized hailstones started falling. An officer was figuring things out, when suddenly struck dead by a falling ice chunk, followed by soccer ball-sized hailstones. This scale of hailstorm is terrifying, for humans without question. Meanwhile, aboard the Earth-orbiting space station, crew observed violent storm clouds over America. New Yorkers saw flocks of migrating birds flying erratically in panic. Zoo deer herds grew restless too. Jack, asleep, got a call from Scotland. The weather chief informed Jack they detected sudden ocean cooling. Initially thought equipment malfunction, but now 4 areas spanning the Atlantic showed identical patterns. Instrument failure seemed improbable. He believed Jack's prediction was now unfolding. Jack too found this hard to grasp. Based on his theory, the earliest it could happen is in 100 years. During their talk, Los Angeles was already shrouded in gray clouds. The true disaster was about to begin. Swirling black clouds churned like boiling water in the sky. In moments they connected with ground winds, forming colossal columns. Within mere minutes, 4 massive tornadoes took shape, ready to sweep across all of Los Angeles. A Hollywood sign was first to suffer. Landmarks began detaching one by one. Few dared to stay out. Yet some people filmed the spectacle with cameras, unaware of the horror they would soon face. 2 tornadoes devoured LAX before merging into one, forming an impossible megatwister raining down cars. Reporter chasing headlines risked a live shot, only to be smashed by a flying billboard instantly. The fusion continued relentlessly. The ultimate tornado stood towering against the sky, suffocating presence. Workers in a high-rise felt faint tremors. Man rushed past the janitor, returning to evacuate his girlfriend. But when he opened the blinds, the sight froze him completely. Outside, the mopping janitor swayed to his music. He sensed danger late, only realizing he barely escaped death after reopening the stairwell door. But both survivors never guessed that yielding ground would become their salvation. Megatwister finally began dissipating, gradually weakening after consuming the city. Meanwhile, scientists fiercely debated the disaster's origin. Just recently, Jack published on global warming held key insights. His paper noted accelerated glacial melting. It was because he overlooked a crucial detail. The formation of oceanic heat currents depends on the delicate balance between freshwater and salt concentration. But global warming melted polar glaciers, releasing vast amounts of fresh water into the sea, disrupting that balance entirely. Terrifying tornadoes like the one before were merely the appetizer. The disasters ahead would defy their understanding. Unpredictable. Natural calamities are imminent. Jack requested supercomputer access from his superiors for his model simulations. After continuous work around the clock, the results shocked Jack profoundly. The northern hemisphere would freeze within 6 to 8 weeks. His superior arranged a meeting with the vice president handling the crisis. But the vice president remained dismissive of Jack. You claimed such events would take a century at the earliest, just days ago. Now you say it's imminent. I find you unbelievable. Meanwhile, 3 helicopters approached Balmoral Castle on a mission. Suddenly, towering cloud pillars encircled them. Unaware they were at the center of the storm vortex. Extreme cold in the eye instantly froze the fuel lines. Engines failed, plunging downward. Soon, all 3 helicopters crashed. The lone survivor opened the hatch to escape. But as his face emerged, he froze into an ice sculpture instantly. Weather anomalies were quickly detected by meteorological institutes. The director sent all cold vortex data to Jack. Using thermal circulation models, he quickly identified the cause of the extreme cold. The rapidly rotating storm was violently dragging frigid air from the upper stratosphere downward. Under normal conditions, this cold air would warm during descent to the surface. But this time it was too fast. Before they could heat up, it already reached the surface. The terrifying part was, this wasn't an isolated incident. 2 more polar vortexes were forming now. One in northern Canada and one in Siberia. These 3 would sweep across the entire northern hemisphere, finally freezing into an ice age. This speed was many times faster than their predicted 6 to 8 weeks. The entire process might take only 1 week. Meanwhile, New York City was hit by sudden torrential rain. The terrifying rainfall overwhelmed the city's drainage system. Floodwaters submerged roads, paralyzing the city's transportation. Confusion and helplessness were everywhere. Jack's son Sam was leading friends to shelter at the library. Female friend got her calf scraped by a car. Other citizens also flooded toward the library. Nobody knew. 30-meter monster wave submerged the Statue of Liberty, was charging toward New York. The next moment, the tsunami completely swallowed the New York Bridge. Cars on highways were swept away like toys. Monster waves crashed into skyscrapers. Humans seemed insignificant against such natural disasters. All desperate struggles were futile. Only higher ground offered a slim chance. Sam had reached the library's top floor, barely escaping the disaster. But all cell phones lost signal. They were completely isolated. In this flooded city, with limited, Sam considered using old landline phones. But that area was underwater. He braved the freezing seawater, wanted to contact his father. His father was a climatologist. Maybe he could offer useful advice. Better call him. Contact his father. Upon learning Sam's predicament, Jack immediately told him to wait at the library. Rescue was coming. He must not go outside. The coming cold snap would be unbearable for humans. They must find every possible way to stay warm inside the library. Rising seawater forced them to end the call. Temperatures plummeted as his father predicted. Sam was soaked through. He nearly froze to death on the spot. Fortunately Laura helped him, huddling for warmth together. Soon heavy snow fell outside. Bitter cold forced everyone to take warming measures in the library. Then they saw an ocean liner drifting past the window. The submerged bus below was crushed like cardboard into a pancake, stopping the ship's movement. Meanwhile, Jack prepared to rescue Sam in New York. His superiors suddenly brought him before the president. New York's anomalies finally got high-level attention. Jack reported his simulation results. Northern Hemisphere would freeze over within days. Current disasters were just the beginning. Coming cold wave would be worse. Against nature's power, Humanity is powerless. Jack proposed a solution. Evacuate people to southern regions. Northern areas can't be evacuated now. If people go south to migrate, they will freeze to death at home. Doing everything possible for warmth is the only hope for survival. The president made a snap decision. But the influx of refugees made neighboring Mexico seal its southern border. To urge refugees to cross the Rio Grande into Mexico, the president compromised, agreeing to waive massive debts. Only then did Mexico open all its borders, allowing refugees free passage. Meanwhile, Jack had prepared everything. Accompanied by two close friends, he set off for treatment in New York. In just one night, New York had become an ice city. Crowds were bustling about on the streets. The library guard, seeing others head south, wanted to do the same. Staying with the crowd means greater chances of survival. Only Sam, knowing the North meant doom, tried to stop them. Despite his earnest pleas, most still chose to go with the flow and stay. Only a few people and a dog remained. They began preparing for cold as his father advised. Books are abundant in the library. So he threw Bibles into the stove to burn. But an elderly woman called it desecration. This must not be done. Sam shot back. You're dying now. Does God still care for you? Books or life? The woman fell silent. Then they gathered food from vending machines. The supplies wouldn't last long. Sam trusted his father would keep his promise and rescue them. But Jack was now delayed by heavy snow. Convinced Sam was safe, Jack abandoned the car to go on foot. The thick snow blotted out the sky. The snow has piled up 4 stories high on the ground. Even walking it is impossible to see clearly. Jack and his 2 companions can only move in a single line ahead. They move forward. Now, they walk over a glass roof. Supplies drop inside. Jack's teammate cuts the supply rope just in time. But the glass cannot hold 2 people, forcing a decision. If there is any hesitation, it could lead to total team loss. So, he quickly severs his own rope. To save the team, Jack rebukes a close friend. Heartbroken. But there is no turning back. Now, he must take 2 friends and continue onward. Another night passes. Inside the library, an unusual event happens. Sam's companion Laura suddenly develops a high fever. After close inspection, they find a wound from a metal cut is infected. Without medicine, she will surely die. A space station witnesses an awesome sight in space. 3 huge storm clouds like cotton candy fill the screen. An unprecedented disaster looms. Jack and his friends struggle forward. The friends cannot withstand the harsh weather. Collapsing instantly, Sam's group takes new action. To save Laura, he decides to search a ship outside for medicine. 2 more friends also decide to join. After a speedy search, they find not just the medicine, but also much stored food. As they ready to return, they meet wolves hunting for food. Although they escape momentarily, one friend sustains a severe leg fracture. To turn the tables, Sam decided to personally take the risk, climbing from the window to another room, diverting the wolves' focus while temporarily sealing this entrance. Sam clearly shook off the wolves' pursuit, then scaled back the outer ladder to his friend's room. Fortunately, the room had rescue gear. They retrieved their injured comrade's supplies, returning to the library. Meanwhile, the monstrous storm made landfall. Jack in snowbound New York sensed something unnatural. Snowflakes hung frozen mid-air. Looking up, high-flying banners snapped straight down without wind. Jack turned and bolted, knowing chaos was coming. Now, they were in the storm's eye, where temperatures would plummet rapidly. Now, clouds enveloped New York, and instantly, the Empire State Building flash froze before their eyes. Jack pried open a roof vent, tossing comrades and gear inside. Then, winds roared back. Billowing banner turned instantly solid. Jack lunged indoors, barred the door. Frost already crawling up walls. He frantically lit fires against the cold. Simultaneously, freeze hit New York Public Library. Sam dragged his companion at full speed. Frost seemed to grip his leg. He was hot on their heels. He escaped back into the house at the last moment. Although his companion urgently shut the valve, they still could not stop the chilling cold. The fireplace became their only hope for survival. He hoped the storms would pass soon. Jack's companion finally woke up. Luckily he had slept through the worst of it. Jack told him they should get moving now. The two trudged through the blizzard. Now, they were nearing Sam's library. He discovered frozen bodies among the ice statues. These were citizens who tried to flee when the storm hit. All had frozen to death. In the frozen wasteland, Jack couldn't tell if Sam was among them, praying as they pressed on. After resting overnight, the storm began to subside across the northern hemisphere. When Jack emerged from the tent, sunlight finally touched the land again. They reached Lady Liberty, finally entering downtown New York. But its former glory was gone. Snow covered the entire city, radiating bone-chilling cold. According to their dose, they reached Sam's library, but the building was nearly buried in ice. They entered through snowdrifts. Seeing everything frozen solid, Jack felt despair growing. Yet he refused to quit. As they reached the innermost room, a sliver of light shone under the door. He shoved the door open eagerly. Then he heard the voice he'd longed for most. "Papa, my father had crossed 300 kilometers driven by sheer determination." Finally, after the reunion, Jack used shortwave communication, relaying news of survivors here to superiors. Precise post-disaster rescue undoubtedly boosts morale, prompting immediate military deployment. Unexpectedly though, in this unprecedented catastrophe, many survivors still remained. Hearing helicopter rotors thundering, they rushed to rooftops awaiting rescue. Meanwhile, space station crew witnessed surreal beauty from orbit. As Earth rebooted its protective systems, it radiated an unprecedented shade of blue. This film reigns as disaster cinema's king, not just for its haunting, apocalyptic weather scenes that chill to the bone, but its environmental protection message. Think back, how long since we saw starry night skies? How often disasters strike now? Protect our environment.